Hello. Hi, Graham. Okay, let me get over here. It's Mom, like you didn't know. Birthday message from me to you on your birthday from your room in Dunwoody. I'm so grateful that Laura and Mark are working on this for you, and I've prepared a little script so I could stay on point, because sometimes I can ramble. But anyway, these are important things that I want to share with you on your birthday. Happy birthday. So excited it's your birthday. And I just love you so much. So please listen to what I have to say. When you were little, you asked me if I would always love you. And I said, Graham, I will always love you till the end of time. You asked me one day if I'd ever seen God. And I said, Graham, I see God every time I see you. And one day you asked me if I'd ever felt God in my heart. And I said, Graham, I started feeling God the moment I knew you were coming into my world. I was 27. And then one day we were riding down the road and you said, Mom, are there sports in heaven? And I got so tickled and I said, Graham, there's everything good in heaven. So I'm sure that there are sports in heaven. And you were very happy. When you were 3, you had an imaginary friend. Remember Bubba? Bubba was 12 feet tall and 4 inches wide, and he'd think he had like 14 sisters and 11 brothers, and you used to carry around your little Ernie and Bert doll and your oboe doll, and you'd line them up in the den, and I would hear you in there talking to all your imaginary friends with Bubba. So that used to just tickle me so much. And Bubba, ironically enough, never liked squash, and you don't like squash, so you were a lot like Bubba. When we lived in Mill Glen, you were little, there weren't flat screen TVs. There were just regular TVs on TV stands. And you had on a little teal colored polo and little Madras plaid shorts and little white tennis shoes. And we were watching a golf tournament. It was a Sunday. And you had seen and heard about the PGA, but I don't think you really at 3.5 understood what it meant, but you knew it was about golf and it was important enough to be on TV. So the award ceremony for whatever tournament it was in the spring was on TV, and there were some men and they had on their suits and their ties, and you got off the sofa and walked over to the TV, and you had a little speech impediment, remember? And so you walked over to the TV and you pointed right at the TV and you said, Mama, who is that? And I said, oh, Graham, that's the president of the PGA Tour. And you looked over at me, a little puzzled, and I said, honey, do you know what a president is? And you said, no. So I thought about it for a minute, and then I said, oh, well, a president, he's like the king. He's like the king of all the golfers. So, he's very important. And you said, I do that one day. And I said, well, Graham, that's a great thing to be. So write down your goals and work very, very hard and be purposeful and have a vision. And then one day, maybe you could be the president of the PGA Tour. I don't know. Maybe you could be the president of your universe. But whatever it is, have a goal, work hard, and you can do it. And about the time you were in 7th grade, you gave up all the other sports that you'd played all around the community, and you decided to dedicate yourself to golf. And that's what you did. You played it, you learned it. You used to have a rules book over here on this bedside table, and you would learn a rule or 2 or 3 every night. And you worked in internships, all those internships during the economic crisis and the Tiger Woods crisis. You did everything they told you to do and more, and you've become innovative in your ideas and ways to make it better. And I just think that what you've done and how you've come through so much has just been amazing and unparalleled, and Dad and I are both so proud of you. So we're excited about that. When you were little, I asked a lot of you. I asked you to be kind. I asked you to be respectful and generous and faithful and compassionate. And I always asked you to be the best you could be and do the best you could. And if the best was a C, that's great. We celebrated it with the red plate. Whatever was your best, although you were always an extremely good student in school, whatever was your best, that's what we celebrated. And that's all we asked of you. And I asked you to be humble. And, oftentimes when you were growing up, I asked you, Graham, spell humble for me. And so one of the ways as a mom, because, we're always having to teach, is I wanted to keep you humble, so I kept you in little beds. So you started out in a baby bed, and then you got bigger and you got into a youth bed. And then when you lived next door in now Claire's room and the room in Mill Glen, you lived in a twin trundle bed. And then when you moved over here in 1996 to this room, we moved your twin bed over here. And then when you went to college, you got an extended twin bed when you were 18. So 19, when you moved out of the dorm, we moved the extended twin bed back here because, you know, you were 6'2", you needed a longer bed. And that extended twin bed is what you've had until about 5 months ago when you were 29 3/4 and you got a queen size bed. So I think that that's one of the main reasons why you're so humble, is because I kept you in a twin bed your whole life. And I'm really proud of that. I wanted to tell you that one of the best moments that I've had, and I've had a plethora, I've had a million wonderful moments, but one of the proudest moments I had was, ironically, the day that I called you your junior year. You were walking down Baxter on the way to class in the rain, which you hated the rain. And Dad was with me when I found out that I had cancer. But I wanted to call you first because Preston and Claire were at Marist, and with all y'all's social media, I just needed to let you know first and ask you to hold it until I could talk to them. First thing out of your mouth, other than asking me if I was going to be okay, which obviously I'm okay because here I am, was, could you please share that with your Bible study at the fraternity? And that just touched me so deeply because it was at that point that I knew that you had your priorities right in line with God, and that you knew where to go to find peace and strength. And I have clung to that. I've cherished that memory. I love you even more for it, and I respect you deeply because that's where you went. You took it straight to God, and it helped me. There's so much more that I could say. I could just wish you a happy birthday every day, all day, for the rest of your life. But I do think that, like, you really do live your life like it's your birthday every day. And there's nothing wrong with that, you know, nothing at all. So high five, keep it up. But naming you Graham and going down with your letters, this is a birthday wish from me to you. Graham, G, give to others. Give to the world, to the community. Give to yourself. But give what you have to the best of your ability with what you have. R, remember who you are and whose you are. You were his first. He knew about you first. You were the first twinkle in his eye. Love him. Know whose you are. And you're mine. A, align yourself in life with those people who will love you and lift you and support you. I think you do a good job with that. H, be honest in everything you do. You always have. Continue to be honest. A, accept advice and always appreciate your life because you are blessed beyond and much more than probably 99.9% of the people in the world. Being an American, being free, being healthy, having an education, having your friends, having this wonderful job at the tour. You appreciate it and continue to do. And M, memories. You are one of the best at creating memories. We have a billion memories of you in the past. Remember them, cherish them. Continue to create amazing, wonderful, healthy, strong, fun memories in your future. And also, we love Laura. Continue to grow in your faith and friendship and family with her. She is one of the kindest people that we've ever known to be in your life. And we are so grateful that she is in your life today on your birthday. So can't wait to see what the future holds. 30 is going to be an amazing year for you. I love 30. 30 was a great year for me. I was about to have Preston. So you were about to gain a little brother that was going to help make you even more humble and more generous and more amazing. So happy birthday to you. The day you were born, you brought the best joy into my life. Dad gave me love. You give me love. But you've given me joy all of my life. And it started when I was 27. So happy birthday to you. Signing out from your room at 5277 Winter Creek Drive in Dunwoody, Georgia. I just love you so much. Happy birthday.
For 30.
What if I told you that a small boy from small town Dunwoody, Georgia would become the next Wayne Gretzky? Just kidding, Graham couldn't ice skate for shit. But we did think he might have a shot. We both did, really, growing up playing street hockey in the cul-de-sac. Graham had a pretty nice slap shot, but never amounted to anything more than our one victory over Redfield, in which I think we fixed the game anyway. Graham and I's relationship started when we were young enough to really appreciate the big wheel life. For those of you that aren't familiar, I'm sorry. Graham and I had the big wheels where we would go dangerously fast down the street, doing donuts, gang activity, that type of thing. As we grew up, Graham invited me, a non-member, to Downey Country Club to play golf with our fathers, where we proceeded to drink about 37 Cokes throughout the course of 18 holes, and survived a temper tantrum where I actually stomped on the interior of the golf hole, and have actually never been invited back, Graham. That was a memory I'll never forget, and we're lucky we actually survived. Graham and I one Halloween dressed up as rollerblading grandmas. Very weird concept. I think we came up with that on our own. I don't think that was one of our mother's ideas. And we even put a nice little touch in there. We had enormously blown up balloon boobs because we were, I think, 8 or 9 at the time. And why wouldn't you have boobs as a rollerblading grandma for Halloween? Graham is a great friend of mine. I've never met someone that has loved Chick-fil-A, bourbon, golf, as of recently, referees. I think that's something that he's starting to appreciate, which is kind of random and weird in his late age, but God bless you. Graham and I have had a lot of fun years, not only in our childhood, but as we've gotten older. My bachelor party specifically in New Orleans, Graham was pretty much invincible. Somehow he didn't feel the effects of a hangover. If he did, he just ignored them. And what's remarkable about that is Graham had been in New Orleans for 3 weeks of Mardi Gras previous to this, so to my bachelor party. So it was incredible that he was able to continue on and keep drinking and keep the party going. So some of my friends that had never met him before were just amazed at the strength and desire he had to push on and keep partying. And I guess we should have seen that coming, since one Christmas, Graham and I drank all of Big John's Crown Royal entire bottle. That was something that somehow, again, we survived and didn't get in too much trouble. Graham's been a great friend. The family, the Shirley family, means so much to me, and he was a groomsman at my wedding, and certainly someone that I consider a lifelong friend. I affectionately call him Grandma Rama Ding Dong. He has been great for my gambling habit that I have, as far as helping introduce me to my life role model, Jonas Blixt. Somebody that I have wagered on and won a ridiculous amount of money thanks to Graham. So that he's planted that seed. Now I'm dealing with that. Just a great friend and someone that I'll continue to be friends with for life. So Graham, happy birthday. You're getting old. I love you. See you, buddy.
What if I told you I knew a guy who had multiple running tabs still in Athens, Georgia? That's just the kind of guy Graham Shirley is. If you haven't been out with him in Athens, then you haven't quite lived. My friends would experience this whenever I would meet up with him and his friends. I would get back with him, and they just thought, man, we gotta get Joseph home. That they wouldn't be worried, but they were like, he had a really good time tonight. I'll never forget, first meeting Graham doing a sports radio show one summer, and that following fall, beginning as a student worker in the sports comm office at Georgia. And let alone who walked in was Graham Shirley, and for whatever reason, he decided to take me under his wing immediately. Really showed me the ways of the office for me to maximize my experience there, which I really appreciated. Moving through college, we remained in contact once he was off with all of his adventures with the PGA Tour. And I'm fortunate enough where he's invited me down every year to go to the Players' Championship. I think last year was probably the most memorable one with Smoking on the Mountain, as well as forgetting all of my shoes. I will never forget all of my shoes going anywhere ever again. I learned that having to buy shoes when when they only have one pair left and you have no options is not a very good option to have. So, I'll always remember my shoes, but looking forward to making many memories ahead. Happy 30th, Graham.
Graham Shirley, 30 years old. Hard to believe. Stephen Street here, your youth minister at Dunwoody United Methodist Church. I'll never forget our first retreat together, the spiritual life retreat at Camp Listen. While the worship session's going on, you and I sneak out, head over the church van, and we listen to the Georgia-Clemson game. It was a nail-biter, but Georgia pulled it out. Congratulations, Bulldogs. I'll never forget the time when we sat in my driveway talking about life, talking about high school and the future. I knew then that God had great plans for you. The thing I remember most about you, Graham Shirley, is that you had a desire to follow Jesus Christ. You and I shared that in common. We both desired to continue our faith journey no matter what. I'm so proud of you and the young man that you've become. You're 30 years of age. That's hard to believe. You and I also shared a love for Saturday Night Live. One particular skit with Uncle Flupchuck, hence our nickname for one another. I'll never forget, I'm walking down the streets in Savannah, hadn't seen you in several years, getting ready to be a part of your wonderful sister's wedding, and I hear from across the street, "Hey, Uncle Flupchuck!" It was you, Graham Shirley. We embraced, caught up on old times. Seemed like it was just yesterday that you walked into that youth group.
Graham, you and I have been set up for failure in our friendship since the very beginning. Your unfortunate choice of loyalty towards the Georgia Bulldogs and my undying love for, well, I won't even mention the name of the school since this is for your birthday, and I know you hate them more than anything else. Let's just say I was warned never to talk about it with you even before we met. But we've overcome, for the most part, and with the exception of a week or so throughout the year. I'd say for the most part that it's truly a God-ordained friendship that we have, because I'm confident there's no other person that can make you continue to hang out with a fan of my allegiance for as often as you have. On top of that, although I can't really explain this one, every time we play golf together you absolutely are terrible. And yet we continue to play together, and you continue to invite me, which I appreciate. Ultimately, I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for your friendship and know that I am grateful that you have fought through our differences, even though I don't know what the big deal is. You should be proud of me that I made it through this entire thing without even voicing the name of my team once. This may actually improve our relationship. I'm confident that no matter what else happens, we'll continue to be friends, and I look forward to the next 30 years, and hopefully, even after this, continuing to grow in our friendship. I love you, buddy, and can't wait to see what the next years have in store for you. As it says in Mark 10:9, what God has brought together, let no man separate. So don't try and leave this friendship now. You're stuck with me. Happy birthday, buddy.
Hey, Graham Shirley. Does this ring a bell to you?
Without a doubt, one of my greatest Graham Shirley moments happened February 11th, 2013, when I played 100 holes of golf with you right here, buddy, at the Ponte Vedra Inn and Club. You probably remember we got to this hole for the 10th or 11th time of the day. It was actually the 87th hole we played, and I made my first hole-in-one ever with a 6-iron from the back tees here. And the greatest part about it wasn't the fact that it was my first hole-in-one, it was actually the fact that you got far more excited about it than I did. It's a great memory for me, thankful that I got to share it with you, and buddy, I hope you just have a wonderful 30th. Thankful for you, thankful to know you, and look forward to more memories in the future.
Oh, hello there, Graham. This is your buddy Michael reporting to you live from the great frozen state of New Hampshire. Take a look around. Look at all the white stuff you see. That's snow. So, let me step inside, get out of the freezing weather into something a little more comfortable. There, as you can see, I dressed up for this most auspicious of days, your birthday. Not just any birthday, mind. Your 30th birthday. That's 3 decades, my friend. 3 whole decades that you and I have known each other. You may notice that I've grown a beard, gotten a little more handsome. Take this moment to look back on your life. Have you become more handsome? I think so. Look at that little twinkle in your eye. I remember back in the day when Graham was but a wee lad and Michael was also a wee lad and our families were together. I remember many happy trips. I remember there was one time we went camping. Graham, you were with me when I think one of the first times in my life where I completely lost my mind. We were out camping on a scout trip, and we were putting a tent together or putting it down or something, and it was raining, and one of the tent poles, the elastic inside snapped, and that signaled the snapping of my own mind. I went crazy, and I just remember you being there and just being like, what if he has lost it? So thank you for being a support for me in that trying time. We had a lot of good times in the Scouts. Yours truly, having procrastinated a lot on his Eagle Scout, you stuck through it with me through the bitter end. You were always there for me. I also remember a lot of good times going to the beach. We had a lot of good times there. I also remember a particularly fun trip out to California where we were driving. Also another time I kind of went crazy after being in the car for so long. I think we were singing Cat Stevens and we were just all going nuts in the car. I don't even know what our parents must have thought. They were like, oh my gosh, these kids, how did they get our genes? I have no idea. I think we ended up pretty good though with the genes. Anyway, I also loved golfing with you. You instilled a profound love of golf in me, so that I always know, however bad I feel, I know that there's always somebody much better out there. So I always had fun playing though. I just always remember your dad would hit, my dad would hit, you would hit, I would hit, and then we'd go like 20 feet, pick up my ball, and they'd be like, Michael, pick up your ball, we're going to the fairway. And so that was always fun hanging with you that way. So Graham, happy 30th birthday. I hope that some of these shared memories jogged your mind and made you smile. Anyway, love you, buddy, and I hope you're doing well. Happy birthday.
Well, we really didn't know Graham all that well as he was growing up and through high school and stuff. But when we found out that he was with the Tour Championship and was coming to East Lake and was going to be working as an intern here and needed a place to stay, we invited him in, and we had another son for a while, which we thoroughly enjoyed. And I think he enjoyed it. He was having a good time working with all the great golfers and telling us the stories of how different one of them react to different situations. And so it was kind of saved us a few years in our life to live through his experiences with the great golf. Unfortunately, I've gotten away, I don't even know the senior golfers anymore. So this really has been fun to have someone in the family that could relate to the really good golfers these days.
Well, Graham was a great house guest for a week or week and a half. He came in. I would look for all the mess he'd made. There never was one. So ladies, pay attention. He's neat. He's polite. And we had fun. We'd go out to dinner with Sid and Matthew, and of course they'd tell golf stories, and we'd drink a little wine. And we really did enjoy him. So Graham, I hope you keep coming back to see us. I love access to a golf cart as well. And I'm kind of tired of walking to the club. But anyway, I hope you have a wonderful birthday. And I wish we could be there. But we'll have a drink for you.
Happy birthday.
When I think about Graham, I think big life, big personality, big energy, big goals, big success. One of the stories that I think about when I think about Graham Shirley is the summer that I got to go to the beach with his family. He was about 17 and had just had hernia surgery, and we called him Gimpy all week long because he was on crutches. But he was such a good trooper, he made it out to the beach every day and kept a smile on his face. That's the thing about Graham. He's so positive. He has the ability to make everyone around him feel like they're part of the great things that are going on around him. Happy birthday, Graham. Love you.
First memories of you was coming to your house, and you were probably 1 or less year old, and you could sit up, but I don't think you could walk yet. And your mom had those stacking rings, like a child's first toy, the colored rings all over your arms, and you looked like the Michelin Man, and you were so cute. I wonder if your mom has those pictures of you. But I do remember that. And then, of course, the baseball game, and then all of a sudden you're in junior high, and then all of a sudden you're in high school, and then suddenly you're in college, and now you're out in the world. And we're just so happy that at 30 years old, you seem to love your career and love your personal life and be a very, very happy guy, and we're so happy for that. We look forward to seeing you this summer. Love, happy birthday.
So I've known Graham for about 16 years now, and I have so many wonderful things I could say, but one of my favorite moments happened a couple years ago. I was down in Ponte Vedra with some girlfriends, and Graham invited us out to the club for dinner. He was far below his food and beverage quota for the quarter because the tuna fish sandwiches and Heinekens weren't cutting it. So there we were at dinner. Graham told us to indulge, so we just ordered whatever and had the best meal. Such a lovely time, and we laughed and told stories, and at the end, when the bill came, we were all kind of nervous, reaching for our wallets, like ready to chip in, and Graham just opens it, and the biggest smile comes across his face, and he just said, "You girls hit the nail right on the head," and we spent the exact amount that he needed to. And he, of course, invited us back anytime, and that's just the kind of person that he is. He treats his friends to country club meals with a smile on his face and pure joy in his heart. Love you, friend. Happy birthday.
Graham, congratulations on turning 30. Very proud of you, and in celebration, I decided to go back and look for one of the earliest emails that I'd received from you, and it's pretty long, but I'll give you a couple of lines. Applying my positivity, school is at its highest point since the 7th grade. I have 5 A's, including an A in English, a feat which has seemed like it would never happen, and a B in statistics. I have approached studying and class time as opportunities to better myself, and I'm trying to be the best I can be. I'm a President's Fellowship of Christian Athletes for my school, and I perform community service. I have openly taken a stance not to drink or smoke because they don't help me at all, but just because other people do it doesn't mean I look down on them. So proud of you. And later in the email you say, with the time off I have had over the fall and early winter, I had a lot of time to think about my future aspirations. It didn't take me long before I realized that my dream is to either play on or work for the PGA Tour. Working and traveling with the tour has become a huge motivation for me. It's a dream. Congratulations, my friend, on achieving that dream, on hitting an important milestone in your life. You make everyone who meets you very proud of you, including me. Happy 30th.
Well, I remember the day that Graham was born. We were, Ollie and I were at the Capasic House in Athens studying, and got a call that a little baby boy had been born. It was over 10 pounds, so it didn't take us long to get down to Atlanta and go meet Graham. And what a great little baby he was. And we, you know, the years when we were dating and living in Atlanta, we would go trick-or-treating with Graham and go over and play with him and babysit him and that sort of thing. And when he was 4 years old, he was a ring boy at our wedding. And he was protecting me. I had all my fraternity brothers there. And he came in after the wedding, after the reception. I was getting ready to go back to Atlanta. And he came into the room and said, "Uncle Wagon, there is a wham and a woman on Aunt Wowie's car." So some of the fraternity brothers had blown up a few a lamb and a woman and put it on the car, and he was warning me. Anyway, I remember him playing baseball a lot, and when we went to our trip down to Florida, the family trip down to Florida, he was playing in the 12-year-old All-Star game, and they made it to the Little League World Series. And we went over one day and watched him play, and I remember him hitting a home run in the game. So that was a special time with Graham, and all the beach trips. This will be the 20th one this year, so all the beach trips that we took with Graham over the years, and going to the farm and playing ball there and throwing the football and running around and playing with Graham, and also, all the holidays with Graham, going to the movies with him every Thanksgiving and Christmas. And later on, not too many years ago, he joined me in Endymion, which is a Mardi Gras parade, and he's been riding in that for years with me, and I think that's one of the top things he does every year. If you ask him, I think he really likes that. But I've enjoyed doing that with him over the years. But Graham is a great, fun guy. He always is the life of the party. He has never met a stranger. And Graham, happy 30th birthday, and I'll see you at Mardi Gras.
Weeks over what to say in this video and how to try and explain the entirety of who Graham is and what he means to me in just a few short minutes. I mean, it's a pretty daunting task to distill an entire lifetime worth of memories down to a couple quick stories, but I'll give it my best shot. And I think what it all comes down to is that Graham is always there for you. And I think that's a common theme among anyone who knows him. They know that he's an incredible friend, he's a great resource and mentor, and he's been a wonderful brother for me. My earliest memory of Graham, and actually one of my earliest memories, period, was I was about 2 or 3, and we were at the pool, and we were getting out to go home, and I wasn't ready to go home and get out of the pool, so I had my floaties and everything off, and I decided to jump back in. But it wasn't the greatest plan because I didn't really know how to swim then, and all I really remember is sinking straight to the bottom of the pool like a rock, and looking up and just seeing Graham jump on top of me in the water to pull me out and to save me. So, and I know from that moment forward that he always had my back. He always was looking out for me. Growing up with Graham was great. I knew anywhere I was going, whatever challenges were ahead, I always had an ally. I always had someone who went before me, who could kind of show me the ropes and introduce me to people and help me out with anything, through baseball at Murphy Candler, through Boy Scouts. Yes, Graham Shirley Eagle Scout was an incredible resource for me when I was going through that. Going on through high school into college, it was awesome having an older brother there to kind of show me what to do, what not to do. So it was so nice going into college, having Graham there, someone who was paving the way once again ahead of me, and it made the transition to college so much easier, knowing I had someone there to introduce me to campus, to SIGEP, and to all the opportunities that Georgia had to offer. One of the biggest benefits, I would say, especially the first couple of years, was that I had someone who could supply me with a fake ID. And so I thought I was hot shit walking around downtown Athens as Graham Shirley, and one evening I walk up to a bar and I show him my ID, and the bouncer looks at it and he looks at me and he says, "Hey, you're already inside, why don't you go say hi to yourself?" And so I look at him terrified, and he's like, "It's cool, you're with Graham, go ahead." And that's kind of when I really realized the benefit of having a brother who knows everybody. So you think Graham, with such a big personality, it would be easy to overlook over those around him, but no, not Graham. He always uses that big personality to enrich the lives and the experiences of those around him. Some of my favorite memories in life have been trips with Graham, whether that's when he has come here to Baltimore, going to Ravens games and Orioles games, or our trip to Denver to see Shivo and play Cherry Hills, to just hanging out at home and spending time with the family. He always uses every resource at his disposal to make my life, my family's life, Claire, my mom and dad, and all of our friends, everyone around us, to make our lives more rich.
The first time I met Graham was at the Shirley's family Christmas party. I remember being so excited to meet Preston's whole family. We flew in just before the party, and I didn't really get to talk to Graham that much before the party. So the next morning, I woke up really early, showered, got ready, so I could go up to the kitchen and talk to the whole family. When I went up to the kitchen, it was really only Graham there, and he was looking very disheveled from the night before and reading the sports section in the newspaper. So I remember I made some coffee and I asked him if I could get him any, and he just said, "No, I don't drink that devil's juice." And I started laughing, but in my head I was very nervous and I didn't know what to say. And then I had a list of topics that I was going to talk to the family about, but I forgot them, and I just continued to be a little nervous. But after all that, Graham and I became pretty good friends, despite the coffee incident. And my favorite memory with Graham Shirley has got to be going to the East Lake Tour Championship. It was my first time going to a golf tournament with Preston and Graham, and I was really excited. Woke up early, got ready. We took Preston's truck and we picked up a couple of Graham's friends. Once we got to East Lake, Graham was super helpful. He showed us all the different golfers, kind of told us about the game and where to be at certain times to see the best hits. So I really was grateful that we had Graham there. It started to rain a lot at the golf tournament, but that didn't really hold us back, and I felt like I was a trooper for hanging in there with the boys, so I was really proud of myself. But we got back to Charles and Sylvia's yard to get back in Preston's truck and go home, but the truck was stuck in mud. So Graham was the driver, and he said it would be a good idea if Joe and Preston jumped out, and Joe was really for it. So he jumped out of the truck to push it out of the mud, and Graham stepped on the gas, and Joe just got soaked in mud. And I remember looking back because I was supposed to be telling Graham like when to press the gas and when Joe was pushing, and I just saw Joe get soaked and I started crying. I was laughing so hard, and we felt really bad for Joe, but it was very funny.
Graham has really been there for me during some big transitional times in my life when I was in high school and visiting Athens, trying to decide where I wanted to go to school. Graham really treated me like an equal. We'd all be sitting around talking football or basketball or whatever was on, and it never felt like I didn't belong. Graham really treated me like one of the guys, and I think that's one of the great things that Graham does is he really treats everybody so well, no matter who you are. Later, when Claire and I started dating, Graham was such a great big brother to Claire and was definitely protective, but also supported me and made me really feel comfortable. That's one of the hallmarks of Graham is that he can always, he's always there to support people. He's always there to crack a joke when you need it, or to give you a hug when you need one. And today, as the Shirley and Paris families have kind of joined, Graham has continued to be that big brother for me and always makes me feel comfortable and is always there for you when you need him most. Some of my fondest memories with Graham were actually when we were in Athens, and Claire and I would take he and the guys to Waffle House. So Claire and I would drive and they would pick up the bill. And being with that crowd of people, there was never a dull moment. If you weren't laughing, it just every second was always hysterical. And they turned what should have been just a sort of boring, normal night going to Waffle House into these like awesome nights that I'll never forget.
There's so many wonderful things that I could say about Graham and what he means to me. I'm going to try and summarize, but it's going to be really tough. To start, I actually wrote down some words that I think describe Graham really well. Graham is a leader, a go-getter, a goal setter, a dream achiever. He's incredibly caring, friendly, loyal, passionate, funny, loving, and inspiring, especially to me. I really loved growing up with Graham. One thing that always stands out to me when I think about Graham is how proud I've always been to be his little sister. I've always been so proud to know his friends because he's always surrounded himself by really great people. I've always been so excited to have his former teachers because they always tended to treat me extra special because they loved him so much. And basically, Graham just made it really easy to always answer, yes, I am Graham Shirley's sister, every time people ask throughout elementary, middle school, high school, and even college.
One really awesome thing about Graham is that he's always been 100% there for me if I ever need him or if I ever call on him. He's willing to drop anything he's doing right then and there and help me if I'm in need. I remember this one time in particular, I actually was in college and I was dealing with something. I actually called him and I was crying just hysterically, and he was actually about to board a plane, and he was literally in line about to board this plane. So not the ideal situation to be helping your sister who's crying on the phone. Nevertheless, Graham stayed on the phone with me throughout his whole boarding process, boarded the plane, sat down, everything, everyone else boarded, still talking to me, helping me calm down, talking me through the situation, just bringing reason into my mind. And I'm sure a stewardess at one point told him, you need to put your phone away, but he still kept talking to me until the last second that he absolutely had to put his phone away. And that just meant so much to me that he was willing to, be probably the only person on the plane talking to someone who's crying. But he put aside, his worries of himself and just completely was there for me at that time. And that really means a lot. And he's done that many other times throughout my life. We always joke in my family about how I've always been the non-sportsy little sister to two very sportsy older brothers, and how I grew up on the baseball field and on the golf course, despite my non-athletic tendencies. But honestly, I really did. Apparently I was only 2 weeks old when I went to my first baseball game to see Graham play. And although most of the time I wasn't actually watching the baseball, I was, playing the sand pile, I was searching for four-leaf clovers, I was going to the concession stand to order slush puppies and airheads. That's most of what I remember, but in terms of memories. But I have such a fond memory of always being there, and I never resented being there. I was always just so proud to be there for Graham and Preston, and was so proud to be their sister. Despite not knowing what was going on the field, I just loved watching them and I just really enjoyed my time there. I always looked up to them so much, and I still do. And I've just always been incredibly proud to be Graham's sister. Graham's always just been such a great example to follow, because he's such a great leader, and he's always such a go-getter, and he achieved his dreams, and he's just always made me feel like I could do that too, which is such a cool thing and such a blessing to have him as a brother, because he just made me feel like I could do anything. If I was passionate about it and I set my mind to it, he made me feel like I could do it. And because I've seen him achieve his dreams and his goals, he's made me believe in myself more. I love you, Graham. You are the biggest brother I could ever ask for, and thank you for always supporting me and loving me so much.
Hey,
how you doing?
Who's this for again?
Somebody went to Marist. I saw on Facebook like it's their 30th birthday. First name's Graham.
Graham. Franklin?
No, not Graham Franklin. Not an evangelist. Probably should have been. But he's not. Graham Cracker. Cracker.
Swami, Samsonite.
No. He played golf.
Shirley.
FCA. Graham Shirley, 30th birthday.
Big man on campus.
He was a mog.
He didn't see us anymore.
He was a mog. He's a man of God, but he's big time. He's BT. He's big time, so he never comes to see us.
I heard he was turning 40 this year, or is it 30?
30. Could be 50.
Old man Graham.
Oh, man. Is it 30?
We're proud to know you.
I think it's 30.
We're proud to know you.
We're proud to know you, and we appreciate all you stand for. And when you make that first PGA cut, oh, that's right. No, hold it. He's working for
PGA, that's right. That's right.
You and Phil Nicholson, it was just sort of the same. But we love you. Go War Eagles. Happy 30th.
Go Dogs.
Go Dogs. Amen. We love you.
All right.
Happy birthday.
See you, big man.
Bye-bye.
Graham and I have a long history, whether it's lunches at the man who creates sandwiches or question mark texts with Carlton, or even the legend of Graham Vance, Old Faithful. But I think my favorite Graham story is probably about a year into knowing Graham. I went to a sushi Sunday which I'm sure many of you are aware of. And it was that night that I told Graham, apparently for the first time, that I went to grad school at Georgia. And I don't think I've ever seen a more shocked and saddened face that he hadn't known that information earlier. To this day, I'm not sure he forgives me for not telling him that I went to his alma mater a year into our relationship. So that's probably my favorite grand memory.
Happy birthday, Graham. It's Mr. Charles, who's known you literally all your life and has many, many happy memories of the Vaughns and Shirleys being together. But the one I've picked is the one where it was just you and me, the 2008 Masters. We started out in Warrenton picking up the tickets from Ed Ricketson's dad and mom, and then we headed over to the Masters, and I had my own personal tour guide. I remember we started out walking the fairways, and I had to remind you after a while that you were 6'3" and I was about 5'6" on a good day, and I couldn't see what was going on. So we needed to find some place to sit where I could see. So you said, I know just the place. We can see the balls landing on 6, and we can see the 16th green, and so that's where we headed. We just settled in on the bank, and all of a sudden, there down below us in a pretty dress was the dreaded ex-girlfriend. Now, it's been over 3 decades since I've broken up with a girl, and I hope never to repeat it, and I wasn't much good at helping you out that day, but we still had a good afternoon, and I will never forget our trip back home. We took apart the Georgia Bulldogs 2-deep roster for the upcoming season, every single player, and by the time we got home, we were ready to put on the pads in the yard and go hit somebody. What a great memory for me. Happy birthday, and many more.
Happy birthday, Graham. I wanted to say happy birthday to you, and I understand we're sharing 30 years with Graham and what that's meant to all of us. And I was trying to think of a memory of you, and I wanted to share one that Betsy had that she had shared with me a number of years ago. If you remember, she was a senior in high school, and you were a freshman at Georgia, and we needed somebody that we could call and ask about showing her around the campus and giving her a sense of what college life was all about. So, of course, we called you, and you were so gracious to meet her. I think you took her around her dorm room and showed her around, and you walked the campus with her, and gosh, it seemed like you knew everybody. She kept saying, everybody knows Graham, and he's only been here 1 year. So she was very impressed with that. But also, Graham, you took some time to just talk to her about what college life was really like, and you were very honest and candid. You didn't try to embellish it. You talked about what it meant to you and what you had learned from the experience, and it was very helpful to her. She was trying to figure out at that point how she could be her own person on a college campus. And you made quite an impression on her, and it really helped her navigate that process. And even though she didn't choose Georgia, I think you had a big part in helping her find a place where she could be happy. So we just want to thank you for that and say happy birthday. We wish you many, many more. Thanks, Graham. Bye.
Happy 30th birthday, Graham. I cannot believe you're 30 years old. Gosh, I must have been 5 when I babysat you. I hope you have a super special birthday. I still remember the first time I babysat you when your sweet parents went out to dinner. I think your mom must have called every 5 minutes, which I totally understand now as a parent doing the same thing. You are a great kid, always so sweet. I always had a blast watching you watch the Braves game and the World Series reruns that we would put in the videotape in the basement, and you would watch that baseball game over and over and over. And I remember going to Wild Dunes with you, and I still have your picture with you and your little buddy in my little scrapbook down in the basement. So I think about you a lot. Love you and your family, and I hope you have a super special day. Happy birthday.
Graham, hey brother, coming to you from Orlando. Of course, I'm in a hotel room and just grinding it out, but I wanted to make sure that I said happy birthday. You've been such a special person in my life, and I'm very thankful for your friendship, and I love you, man. It's awesome that you got here. I mean, not everybody gets to 30, and you flourished every step of the way. So, dude, just keep grinding, keep hitting it, keep being you. I mean, you're such a great influence on so many people, and well loved, and just go Ric Flair somebody tonight and give somebody a woo. Happy birthday, man. Love you. Cheers.
I'm Trey. I've known Graham for almost 25 years now. In that time, I've lived in his shadow. started Little League Baseball. Graham was 6, I was 5, and he was almost 9 months older than me. He definitely had a growth advantage. So, guess who got to play the great positions while someone was stuck out in right field? It continued in middle school basketball, where with his height advantage, he was working the post, and I was riding the pine. On to high school, where no one popped their collar as high as Graham could. I tried, but I just could never live up to that double polo, matching ponies, collar pop. We were also not just competitors, friends in high school, but we went to church together. Being that he was so much taller than me, especially at that age, he was that much closer to God. We continued on to college, where thankfully Graham included me in the fraternity. But even in that, was overshadowed. No one knew more people on campus than Graham Shirley. Of course, after college, I figured I'd have my opportunity to bloom. But no, even in that, Graham has showed me up. He's really made an example of us all, and I'm proud of him. I'll let you know, Graham, what I realized that it's not living in your shadow. It's living in your shade. It's a harsh world out there, and the shade your friendship casts for all of us is a remarkable gift. You're an example for all of us, how you follow your passion, the love you show for your friends, your family, and your passion for life. Happy birthday, man. Hope it's a great one.
Happy 30th birthday, Graham. I'm here to tell you my favorite story with you. It's my 12th birthday. We were in Athens, and you got me and Richard, who's right there, on the field for the Georgia game against Kentucky. And I got to meet Matt Stafford and Noshawn Marino, who were my childhood heroes at the time. And it was a very awesome and exciting day. And then when I got in the Marist, you got me this poster signed by some UGA greats, and it meant a lot to me. Happy birthday.
What do I think of when I think of Graham? Well, you were the first friend of Austin's that I met here in Jacksonville. Needless to say, you probably helped jumpstart our relationship by calling me the future Mrs. Flagg. I was very scared at the time, but look where we are today. Some of my favorite memories with you include our annual epic trips to Waco, or should I say Cleveland, from the freezing fog to the Texas heat to the monsoon. We always seem to find scruffs and the dance floor, with or without Austin. Then of course we had our wedding food and wine tasting, and that wouldn't have been the same without you, because we're the 3 best friends that anyone could have. We're the 3 best friends that anyone could have. We're the 3 best friends that anyone could have, and we'll never, ever, ever leave each other. Well, Graham, you have such a big heart for others and always make me feel so special. I want you to know that. I love that you're always up for anything and you help me rally Austin when needed. And just wanted to say thank you for being such a special friend. My life and my move to Jacksonville definitely would have been the same without you. Happy birthday. Love you.
Hello, Graham. It's Will coming to you from Ponce Inlet, one of the happy places that the Shirley family has visited for like 20 years now, I believe. So, one of the memories I have from our time here is the year that your Little League team won the Georgia State Championship, and you were playing in Tampa in the Little League playoffs. And the good news was that you had a home run. And I think it was the only score that your team had that night, and you lost the game, the bad news. But just one of the things that we have enjoyed here as a family, and congratulations on your 30th birthday. You've had some wonderful years.
You're one of those guys who, doesn't matter where I am in the country, I could run into you. I've seen you in all different states. Super proud of everything you've done.
Just thinking back on some of my favorite memories, I'm going to have to say they range anywhere from singing along to Disney songs in the back of Mama Shirley's minivan way back in the day, all the way to shotgunning beers on Frat Beach before Georgia-Florida games. And in between, I'm going to have to say all of the beach trips that we have been on, our families together, yours, mine, and the Wootens, are going to have to be some of the best memories. Somehow, though, I don't know how, They always seem to revolve around some kind of golf tournament. I remember coming back from the beach and literally every guy's eyes were glued to the TV as we watched somebody tee off, some fairway this and that, and here I am, a girl, don't play golf, don't know the golfers' names or anything. Well, now you will be proud, Mr. Shirley, that I love the Masters and actually have watched it most recently with one television and 2 computers by my side so that I wouldn't miss a swing. So what do you think about that? Give yourself a pat on the back, Graham Shirley. You have changed somebody's life. But I just want to wish you a very happy birthday. It's been full of numerous laughs and numerous wonderful memories. So cheers to that, and here's to many more.
Best Graham story I got is when we were 14, played Atlanta Junior Golf together, and this kid shows up with plaid shorts, some pastel polo on, and a bucket cap with his collar popped, and I'm not even sure if he's supposed to be playing in the guys division or the girls division. He's got so much pastel going on, and he's rocking this putter with like 5 different lines on it because Dave Pels says the sweet spot's here, but the manufacturer says it's somewhere else, and the hole just didn't agree with it. But Graham was content that once he hit the sweet spot, he's going to find the bottom of the hole. And we traveled all over for Southeastern Junior Golf together, went to eat at plenty of fine restaurants, lots of Red Lobster in there, Graham's personal favorite. I think we were 15 and we went to Old School together, which was a absolutely wonderful movie to see with your parents. I think we were all scarred for life after that one. But luckily, it was Mr. Shirley, not Mrs. Shirley, with us in there. But, you know, once we got going, I figured I needed to help out Graham with his golf games. The best thing I could do is have him put down his clubs and pick up mine for me. And he was always there, great caddy. Went to Denver together, went to a couple different stadiums together, and just had a great time. Graham's always there on the bag, let me bicker at him. He was OCD with my clubs, which was great. And, you know, Graham being a big sports fan, this was just amateur golf, but he'd know about 25 different guys in the field and know the last 5 tournaments they played in. I couldn't even remember the guys in my group's name at the time. But that's Graham in sports. I'm probably one of the biggest fans in the world. But happy 30th, Graham. Hope everything's good down in Jacksonville, and look forward to seeing you at Timuquana.
As a senior in college, the year that you were born, so that makes me feel very old. But anyway, it's been a great run. You are a fabulous nephew, and since you're doing a 30 for 30, I thought I would tell my favorite sports memory. It was when you were little. You must have been like 6 years old, teeny tiny, playing baseball at Murphy Candler, and you made an unassisted triple play for your team. You were playing third base, you caught a fly ball, you tagged the base, and then tagged the runner that had started going home and got an unassisted triple play. All the parents and coaches started screaming and jumping up and down, and it scared you so much that you started crying because you thought you'd done something wrong. So it was pretty funny, but it was a great day for you, and you've been such a success story ever since. Love you so much. Happy birthday.
Hi, I'm David Dodson. The reason I'm here tonight is that I was Graham's first baseball coach. 5 years old, T-ball at Murphy Candler. So I have a couple of stories to tell. The first one is a little bit more about Marcia, but they do tie together. When I got my team, in those days you didn't draft, you were given your team and you call all the parents. So I called the Shirleys and Marcia answered the phone. And I told Marcia that Graham was going to be on our team, and you would think she had won the lottery. Her reaction was priceless. But when she did collect herself, she came back with that famous line, "This is the call I've been waiting for my entire life." And I said, man, these Dunwoody parents, they're going to be great to work with, and it turned out that way. So that being said, we were the Lancers, as I said, 5 years old T-ball, and Graham was on our team, and we had a pretty good team. In those days, we kept score. There were winners, there were losers, there were playoffs, and there was even a championship. We were good enough to make the playoffs, and we were in the playoffs, in the semifinals of the playoffs, when this exciting event occurred. The way it worked is that to retire the side, you could either get 3 outs or a team could score 5 runs. Well, in this game, we had scored 5 runs in our first 5 innings, which was, sort of normal. And the other team had scored 5 runs in their first 4 innings. So they're batting in the bottom of the 5th. The score's 25-20. They very quickly score 4 runs. They load the bases with nobody out. So get the picture. It's 25-24. Bases are loaded, no one out. To let you know how our parents felt about it, we had one parent that was had filmed the entire game, and he was so sure it was going to go to another inning that he stopped filming it at that moment. The next batter came up, hit a line drive to third base where Graham was playing, and he caught it in the air. First of all, a 5-year-old catching it in the air was pretty special. The runner on third heads home. Graham steps on third. The runner on second is running toward Graham. He runs over and tags him for an unassisted triple play by a 5-year-old. That is not the greatest play in T-ball history. It's not the greatest play in Murphy Candler history. It's the greatest play in baseball history. So we win the game 25-24. The next game we play, we win the championship, and the rest is history. So Graham, it wasn't just great coaching that got you there. It was a great play by a 5-year-old and remains the greatest play in my baseball career, and that was 25 years ago. Graham, happy birthday. Wish we could be there, but I wanted to relay that story to everybody that happened 25 years ago. Thanks for letting me do that.
Grambo, Pop's here to wish you a happy 30th birthday. I've got 9 minutes to get through a world of 30 years of wonderful, great memories. The 9 minutes, of course, is the amount of time that the Momo had, so I can't go over that. But let me start by just saying 30 years ago, my life changed forever. I frequently talk about the paradigms in life. Going to college, getting married, having your first child, all of those are paradigms. What I did not know was how rewarding and how fun it would be when you had your first child. When we heard the words, "It's a boy," and after ensuring that you and the Momo were okay health-wise, my mind started racing as to what a great time we were going to have. You have not disappointed. As you can see, there are an array of hats here in front of me because many of you who knew Graham knew that he always wore a baseball cap. If his feet were on the ground, he had his cap on. He would get in his bed, take his cap off, but before he got out of his bed in the morning, he'd put his cap back on. So these tell the story. I was a sports nut growing up, but I truly did not know what a sport nut really was until I started watching you two develop. People would ask me all the time, what are Graham's interests? And I would say, well, if he can't throw it, hit it, catch it, or kick it, he's really not interested in it. I think starting out, it had to have been going to the Braves game. We would take you as a 3-year-old, 4-year-old. I caught a baseball, I think, when you were 18 months old there at the stadium, which you had on your shelf for many, many years, and it's probably still there. But going back and watching you at 3 years old keep the scorebook, charting every batter, charting every play, never wanting to leave the game early. And then we would come home and go out into the cul-de-sac, and I'd hit tennis balls up in the air as far as I could in the cul-de-sac, and you would catch just about every one of them. I knew then I had my sports buddy for life. We took you to your first Little League baseball game at Murphy Candler when you were about 3 months old, dressed up in a New York pinstripe little baseball outfit to watch Tim Hilligus play baseball on the coastal field. Little did we know that in about 5 years, what Murphy Candler would become and how it would become such a big part of our lives. The unassisted triple play, the undefeated season, regular season with the Dodgers on the coastal field, the district championship, of course, the state championship for Georgia, and then, of course, continuing on to the Little League World Series as far as the South Regionals down in Tampa. What a great trip. What a great memory that was. This was when you were 12 years old. Of course, during this period of time, we had started taking you to, of course, the University of Georgia Bulldog games. And you started tailgating there as a very young person with the Fambros, the Vasons, the Vaughns, the Rickettsons. Had a great time there at the University of Georgia, and we still really enjoy as many games as we can. All our wonderful times now that we're having at St. Simon's. But sometimes during this period, we started another sport when I would require you to play off my ball. I'd let you tee it up in the fairway so that you could gain confidence in hitting the ball. And as you know, the farm has always been a big part of my life. And playing baseball in the front yard, playing golf there at the little golf course there in Warrenton, those were some awesome memories. There was nothing fancy, nothing grandiose about either one of those, but just spending time together, playing sports that we both love. Golf eventually won out as your dominant passion and career choice. And of course, I think that was because of the wonderful times that we had at the Masters. Mr. Ricketson was always gracious in providing us with the opportunity to go to the Masters. And I think once you set foot on the Masters, you knew that golf was your sport. You have always had the vision and goals in your life, and these attributes will always guide you well. Just continue to make good choices. The golf career, of course, at Marist, where we had many, many wonderful state championships, the AJGA tournaments that we shared, the Tour Championship at East Lake has become very special to us. And of course, the trip of all trips that you and I have shared together was our trip to Scotland, the Old Course, Carnoustie, Kingsbarn, Turnberry. Now the Players has become, on Mother's Day, a tradition for us. And of course, I'll continue to aspire to be Jordan Spieth. So I'll continue to work on my game so we can continue to have a wonderful time together. The Momo and I have always tried to create memories. We have always tried to show our children unconditional love, which Papa and G-Mama were always the ultimate examples. Over the past 30 years, we have had some big part of these memories and shared love with you, Graham. We have truly been blessed. I could go on forever and ever with memory after memory, but the greatest thing is that there are many, many more years and many more memories to create in our future. You do know that the Momo and I plan on being around for the next 30 years. But before I close, let me thank your wonderful lady Laura for coming up with this wonderful idea and allowing us to share and participate in this celebration. Happy birthday, my son. We have been truly blessed by God to have you in our lives, and we give him all the glory. Love you, man, more than you will ever know. Happy birthday.
You live your life like it's your birthday every day, and there's nothing wrong with that, nothing at all. So high five, keep it up. But naming you Graham and going down with your letters, this is a birthday wish from me to you. Graham, G, give to others. Give to the world, to the community, give to yourself, but give what you have to the best of your ability with what you have. R, remember who you are and whose you are. You were his first. He knew about you first. You were the first twinkle in his eye. Love him, know whose you are, and you're mine. A, align yourself in life with those people who will love you and lift you and support you. I think you do a good job with that. H, be honest in everything you do. You always have. Continue to be honest. A, accept advice and always appreciate your life, because you are blessed beyond and much more than probably 99.9% of the people in the world. Being an American, being free, being healthy, having an education, having your friends, having this wonderful job at the tour. You appreciate it and continue to do. And M, memories. You are one of the best at creating memories. We have 1 billion memories of you in the past. Remember them, cherish them. Continue to create amazing, wonderful, healthy, strong, fun memories in your future. And also, we love Laura. Continue to grow in your faith and friendship and family with her. She is one of the kindest people that we've ever known to be in your life. And we are so grateful that she is in your life today on your birthday. So can't wait to see what the future holds. 30 is going to be an amazing year for you. I love 30. 30 was a great year for me. I was about to have Preston. So you were about to gain a little brother that was going to help make you even more humble and more generous and more amazing. So happy birthday to you. The day you were born, you brought the best joy into my life. Dad gave me love. You give me love. But you've given me joy all of my life. And it started when I was 27. Hello. Hi, Graham. Okay, let me get over here. It's Mom. Like you didn't know. Birthday message from me to you on your birthday from your room in Dunwoody. I'm so grateful that Laura and Mark are working on this for you, and I've prepared a little script so I could stay on point, you know, because sometimes I can ramble. But anyway, these are important things that I want to share with you on your birthday. Happy birthday. So excited it's your birthday. And I just love you so much. So please listen to what I have to say. When you were little, you asked me if I would always love you. And I said, Graham, I will always love you till the end of time. You asked me one day if I'd ever seen God. And I said, Graham, I see God every time I see you. And one day you asked me if I'd ever felt God in my heart. And I said, Graham, I started feeling God the moment I knew you were coming into my world. I was 27. And then one day we were riding down the road and you said, Mom, are there sports in heaven? And I got so tickled and I said, you know, Graham, there's everything good in heaven. So I'm sure that there are sports in heaven. And you were very happy. When you were 3, you had an imaginary friend. Remember Bubba? Bubba was 12 feet tall and 4 inches wide, and he'd think he had like 14 sisters and 11 brothers, and you used to carry around your little Ernie and Bert doll and your oboe doll, and you'd line them up in the den, and I would hear you in there talking to all your imaginary friends with Bubba. So that used to just tickle me so much. And Bubba, ironically enough, never liked squash, and you don't like squash, so you were a lot like Bubba. When we lived in Mill Glen, you were little, there weren't flat screen TVs. There were just regular TVs on TV stands. And you had on a little teal colored polo and little Madras plaid shorts and little white tennis shoes. And we were watching a golf tournament. It was a Sunday. And you had seen and heard about the PGA, but I don't think you really at 3.5 understood what it meant, but you knew it was about golf and it was important enough to be on TV. Graham, spell humble for me. And so one of the ways as a mom, because, you know, we're always having to teach, is I wanted to keep you humble, so I kept you in little beds. So you started out in a baby bed, and then you got bigger and you got into a youth bed. And then when you lived next door in now Claire's room and the room in Mill Glen, you lived in a twin trundle bed. And then when you moved over here in 1996 to this room, we moved your twin bed over here. And then when you went to college, you got an extended twin bed when you were 18. So 19, when you moved out of the dorm, we moved the extended twin bed back here because, you know, you were 6'2", you needed a longer bed. And that extended twin bed is what you've had until about 5 months ago when you were 29 3/4 and you got a queen size bed. So I think that that's one of the main reasons why you're so humble, is because I kept you in a twin bed your whole life. And I'm really proud of that. I wanted to tell you that one of the best moments that I've had, and I've had a plethora, I've had a million wonderful moments, but one of the proudest moments I had was ironically the day that I called you your junior year. You were walking down Baxter on the way to class in the rain, which you hated the rain. And Dad was with me when I found out that I had cancer. But I wanted to call you first because Preston and Claire were at Marist, and with all y'all's social media, I just needed to let you know first and ask you to hold it until I could talk to them. First thing out of your mouth, other than asking me if I was going to be okay, which obviously I'm okay because here I am, was, could you please share that with your Bible study at the fraternity? And that just touched me so deeply because it was at that point that I knew that you had your priorities right in line with God and that you knew where to go to find peace and strength. And I have clung to that. I've cherished that memory. I love you even more for it, and I respect you deeply because that's where you went. You took it straight to God, and it helped me. There's so much more that I could say. I could just wish you a happy birthday every day, all day, for the rest of your life. But I do think that, like, you really... So the award ceremony for whatever tournament it was in the spring was on TV, and there were some men, and they had on their suits and their ties, and you got off the sofa and walked over to the TV, and you had a little speech impediment, remember? And so you walked over to the TV, and you pointed right at the TV, and you said, "Mama, who is that?" And I said, "Oh, Graham, that's the president of the PGA Tour." And you looked over at me, a little puzzled. And I said, "Honey, do you know what a president is?" And you said, "No." So I thought about it for a minute, and then I said, "Oh, well, a president, he's like the king. He's like the king of all the golfers. So, you know, he's very important." And you said, "I do that one day." And I said, "Well, Graham, that's a great thing to be. So write down your goals and work very, very hard and be purposeful and have a vision. And then one day, maybe you could be the president of the PGA Tour. I don't know. Maybe you could be the president of your universe. But whatever it is, have a goal, work hard, and you can do it." And about the time you were in 7th grade, you gave up all the other sports that you'd played all around the community, and you decided to dedicate yourself to golf. And that's what you did. You played it, you learned it. You used to have a rules book over here on this bedside table, and you would learn a rule or 2 or 3 every night. And you worked in internships, all those internships during the economic crisis and the Tiger Woods crisis. You did everything they told you to do and more, and you've become innovative in your ideas and ways to make it better. And I just think that what you've done and how you've come through so much has just been amazing and unparalleled, and Dad and I are both so proud of you. So we're excited about that. When you were little, I asked a lot of you. I asked you to be kind. I asked you to be respectful and generous and faithful and compassionate. And I always asked you to be the best you could be and do the best you could. And if the best was a C, that's great. We celebrated it with the red plate. You know, whatever was your best, although you were always an extremely good student in school, whatever was your best, that's what we celebrated. And that's all we asked of you. And I asked you to be humble. And, you know, oftentimes when you were growing up, I asked you. So happy birthday to you. Signing out from your room at 5277 Winter Creek Drive in Dunwoody, Georgia. I just love you so much. Happy birthday.
For 30.
What if I told you that a small boy from small town Dunwoody, Georgia would become the next Wayne Gretzky? Just kidding, Graham couldn't ice skate for shit. But we did think he might have a shot. We both did, really, growing up playing street hockey in the cul-de-sac. Graham had a pretty nice slap shot, but never amounted to anything more than our one victory over Redfield, in which I think we fixed the game anyway. Graham and I's relationship started when we were young enough to really appreciate the big wheel life. For those of you that aren't familiar, I'm sorry. Graham and I had the big wheels where we would go dangerously fast down the street, doing donuts, gang activity, that type of thing. As we grew up, Graham invited me, a non-member, to Dunwoody Country Club to play golf with our fathers, where we proceeded to drink about 37 Cokes throughout the course of 18 holes, and survived a temper tantrum where I actually stomped on the interior of the golf hole and have actually never been invited back, Graham. That was a memory I'll never forget, and we're lucky we actually survived. Graham and I one Halloween dressed up as rollerblading grandmas. Very weird concept. I think we came up